Good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you had a nice weekdays, right? During the work hours and all this. So similarly, it may seem repetitive, but since it's important, I will say it again, like how important it is to have motivation, right? So basically, whatever we are doing, Sanje Chudan Soji Chonamla, whatever we are doing is also like generating the bodhicitta, right? Generating the bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings, so that you be free of suffering, plus the other beings also be free of suffering. So the one to eliminate suffering of yours and others, to generate that type of motivation. Yes. Okay. So now as we start, previously we had already gone through one quote of Shantideva where he said it's important to not cover the whole world with the leather, but leather your own shoe and your own leg. So wear a good shoe. So now today we will start with another quote, an interesting quote. Yes, another one of the great teachers of Kadam, right? So before we delve into the afflictions that we are going to go over, I want to share something from the greatest Buddhist teachers who have, one of the greatest, not the greatest, one of the greatest teachers who had ever lived, Atisha, right? So he is an Indian master who came to the Tibet, and of course from the Gelug tradition, Rinpoche and all of them has praised this teacher a lot, right? Like without him, the Dharma teaching wouldn't have been there in as it is right now in Tibet. So he came to the Tibet in 11th century and changed the entire course of the Tibetan Buddhism, right? He made it more complete. All those the stages of the path and are created through his teaching. So, and he had something very direct to say about our lives. So it's here as it's shown there, and I will read it out for you. So material things are like salty waters of the sea. The more you happily drink, the more your thirst increases. Then again, material things are like itchy fungal rashes. The more you scratch the itch, the itchier it becomes. So, material things are like transient valuables. Deluded about their benefits, you are robbed by the enemy, right? So let's ponder upon this quote for like 5 seconds, right? How it feels to have an itchy rash, how it feels to have an itchy rash as in a ringworm. I don't know whether you all have this problem or not, a ringworm problem. Is it? Not so much, right? So it's a skin problem, right? So let's just ponder upon this. This has a really deep meaning, and this is pretty heavy, right? It's really heavy. The words itself are really like deep and profound. In a Saturday, right? Saturday afternoon, we are going to talk about salty water and fungal rashes. So, not really what you want to hear on a Saturday afternoon, right? So this quote basically encompasses the two mental afflictions that we'll be talking about today. So one is attachment, right? One is attachment. So yeah, and one is envy or jealousy in the next slide. Yeah. So basically, these two are attachment. As we covered in the previous session, we were going to cover the 6 root afflictions, right? 6 root afflictions. Of that, we have already covered anger and afflictive doubt. So now we will cover attachment and some of the secondary afflictions that arise with it. The secondary affliction here, secondary mental factor or secondary affliction that arise from attachment is, of course, jealousy. And later on, we'll also talk about distraction and excitement, right? These are the secondary afflictions. Secondary, if we count the mental factors as 51, there are 20 secondary afflictions that arise from the 6 root afflictions, right? So today our main focus will be 2: attachment and jealousy or envy, right? So the attachment part. So of this, the envy is the secondary affliction. So you may think, why are we going to the secondary affliction, right? So it's because it's closely related to attachment. So if you cover it in this way, then it will be easier to understand rather than going category by category, right? So that's the thing. These are the mental factors. And as we have already discussed in the previous session about what the main mind is and what the mental factors are, right? So just as a short callback or reminder, so mind, as a main mind, we call it sem, right? Or main mind, so sem. So its function is basically clarity, and it's clear as either clarity and cognizance, being aware of what's happening. So mental factor is basically like a candle flame, right? So the rays, right? The rays that light up the scene. So the candle is the main mind, and the rays that are like falling towards everywhere is the mental factor. So here, when you feel attachment, that is a mental factor. And when you feel jealous also, this is a mental factor, right? So that's the thing. So here, what we are trying to do is, this is really crucial to understand, because like what we are trying to do here is we are trying to reduce the mental factor, have less gym reps with it, right? Have less like habituation with this type of mental factors, and try to get our main mind to be more clearer or more cognizant and aware. So what we are trying to work here is to eventually transform how these mental factors work, right? To lessen the afflictive mental factors and cultivate the good mental factors. So it's important to know the difference between the main mind and the mental factors. Sometimes we have this feeling, this angry, we get the identity that this type of mental factor is me, right? That's not the case. It's just a process of your mind that's going on, which is not you. So this can be mistaken with our sense of identity, right? We always say I'm an angry person. Sometimes we talk as if the angriness is instilled upon you, like it's full from your body to neck to everywhere, right? So basically, the main mind and the mental factor have 5 similarities. I haven't talked about this in the previous session, though. So what the 5 bases are, like 5 similarities are, they arise from the same condition, right? They observe the same object, and they have the same. They perceive it in the same way, and they arise at the same moment. And last one is, so one main mind may have the same quality of mental factor on it, right? Only one mental factor of the same quality. So basically, so I'm here. I think I'm getting too technical also, too technical. So basically, mental factors will have 5 types of similarities with the main mind. The main thing we have to notice here is they arise from the same condition and causes, and they arise at the same time. And whatever the mental factor is observing, the main mind will always observe that also. So here, the mental factor in a way is controlling or influencing the main mind to feel how it is, right? So that's important to know. So why? Because when you are attached to a phone, right? For example, when you are attached to a phone, the main mind is aware of the phone, and the mental factor of attachment is also aware on the phone. So these both are like a process that's happening, right? So when they are both attached in the phone, the main mind just recognizes it as a phone and is aware that it's a phone. The mental factor is the thing that distorts the reality of the phone, right? The mental factor, I'm not saying all mental factors, but one of the mental factors, like attachment, is the mental factor that will distort the reality of the phone and make you want it more. So it's important to understand that they have 5 similarities. So that's how mental factors influence or cause the main mind to go bad or have like a bad type of non-virtuous way of seeing it, right? So I think in the Tibetan term itself, it's called Semjung. Semjung meaning arising from the main mind, but it's same, right? It's same. So basically, what basically it's here we are going to talk about is the main mind is a substantial existence, whereas the mental factor is a nominal existence. So I think this is getting a little bit too technical. So we stop here. Just keep in mind that these are the similarities, and this is how mental factors affect the main mind, right? So the afflictions that we are going to talk about today, right? So basically is attachment and envy. So these two, of course, are non-virtuous mental factors. So it's not because attachment and envy is something that we all feel, right? Is there anybody here that has not ever felt attachment to something or envy towards anybody or something? So I feel nobody, right? So of course we have that feeling. It's not because we are bad, right? It's not because we are bad. It's just a mental process that's going on. And of course, having these feelings, we can change it to become better, right? We can change ourselves. We can change our processes, how it starts, so that we have lesser of this type of feelings. So as we talk about these mental factors being non-virtuous, so why is it non-virtuous, right? So virtue and non-virtue in Tibetan Buddhism is in a way simple to explain, but of course we go deeper and we debate and all this, it becomes more complicated. But virtue is virtue in Tibetan Buddhism is something that reduces your suffering and cultivates your clarity and cultivates your compassion. If we put it in simple terms, right? Let's not get too technical. Let's just put it in simple terms. It's something that reduces suffering and cultivates good qualities. And non-virtue is the opposite, where it increases confusion and causes harm to others, suffering to others and yourself, right? So here when we talk about virtue and non-virtue, we are basically looking at the intention, the object, and the result, right? We are looking at 3 points, not just looking at from a one perspective. So it's important to that. So now we come back to the attachment again. So now we will use the same framework that we used in the previous session, which is identifying the attachment or defining what is attachment. Second is recognizing the causes or what caused you to have this type of attachment towards that. Then the third one is, of course, antidote. We need the antidote for the poison, right? Okay, so this thing. So now let's identify definition. The definition, what exactly is attachment? So, of course, the technical term is here. The technical term, of course, is it's a mental factor that based on distorted attention that exaggerates the attractiveness of a polluted object, wishes for and takes a strong interest in it. That's the thing about attachment, right? And the object could be material, person, place, time, idea, or a fantasy also, right? And it functions as the function is to produce non-satisfaction or unsatisfaction, right? Or discontentment, and to give rise to sufferings. So in short, what is attachment? Attachment is a mental factor that clings to what it wants, right? Inflates the good qualities and tightens against losing it. I'm sure you may have seen a video of babies, right? Small babies. Not small babies, but like babies who are at the age 2, 3. They go into the jar, they want the sweets in the jar, right? They put their hand in, they cannot take it out because they are holding too much sweets in their hand and they cannot take it out and they start to cry. I'm sure some of you may have seen it. So this is type of what attachment is. If he loosens the grip, he can take his hand out, but it's still stuck in there and he doesn't want to let go, right? So here, as mentioned, attachment clings to the object. The main word, key word being here, clings, right? And also inflate, the key words. Cling, inflate, tightens, right? So what attachment does is, it promises relief. When I get this iPhone, or when I get this shoe, or when I get this, what's the most popular attachment for people? When I get this durian? Huh? Durian? Okay. When I get this durian, when I finally get it, I will relax, right? When I finally get this holiday, I will relax, right? And when I finally get this, job done, I'll feel happy. So, but in a way, I'm not sure whether you are attached to your job or not, but in a way, right? But it actually extends craving. So we come back to the point. It's salty water. If you drink salty water when you are thirsty, we come back to the quote, right? If you drink salty water when you are thirsty, what happens is you get thirsty more, right? You crave more. So attachment, what I want you to keep in mind, that 4 keywords that is attached to attachment. Attached to attachment, okay. So cling, inflate, tighten, and crave more. right? So basically just 4 words. So in Tibetan, the word, right, attachment is Dö-cha, we call it Dö-cha. So it's not simply Döpa, right? We have a two syllable Dö-cha, which means Dö means want, Chak means cling, right? So if it's just wanting something, that's too simple. Attachment is not that simple. So attachment has 3 essential ingredients to make it so cling is so powerful, right? The first one, of course, as we talked before, it's the desire. You want the object, right? You want the object. Then this is the most obvious one. Whenever attachment arises, you want that object. The object here can be idea, place, material things, or anything, right? Power, non-tangible. If you're talking about non-tangible things, power and anything. Second, it's grasping or clinging to it. So basically the 3 keywords that we talked about. So it's not just that I like ice cream, is that I need this ice cream. So you can see the difference here. It's not I like ice cream, I want that ice cream. So I need this ice cream to be happy. Otherwise, I won't be happy. I must have it, right? If I cannot have it, I will not be happy, right? Suppose when you are feeling so hot in the weather, then a cold drink or something, right? Of course, you must drink water, otherwise you may get dehydrated and fall. But of course, like the thinking process, right? So there is when you have attachment, there is a sense of desperation. There is a sense of desperation, almost like it's sticky, right? It sticks to it and clings to it. The analogy here can be, you got oil on your hands, right? You got oil on your hands and you try to wash it without soap. The, what do you call, greasiness still stays, right? It's almost like that. So whenever you cling to an object, even if it's not the, what do you call, the strength of the attachment is not there, it's still that clinginess, that greasiness that still like doesn't want to let go of your hand. Is almost like that, right? So that oil, of course, won't wash off easily. You have to apply soap and maybe rub your hands for like 2-3 minutes, then the oiliness goes away, right? So here, what attachment does, it clings to the object and doesn't want to let it go, doesn't want to let go of it. So thirdly, there is a sense, like I want it, right? There is a sense of I, like I deserve this, I need this to be happy. It is in a way self-centered. Attachment is in a way self-centered. So whenever like the 3 things that we have mentioned, desire, clinginess or grasping, and the sense of I, these 3 come together, then the attachment becomes non-virtuous, right? Because it's that, like the, what do you call, stubborn mindset that you want it, right? Then it starts to cause us suffering. It's not because the object itself is bad, right? Of course, we cannot say ice cream is bad or durian is bad, which I think it is. Not tasty, okay? Which I don't like. So, not because the object is bad, but here what we have done is we have distorted our reality, right? The object has been inflated so much in our own reality that you have inflated the importance of the object for your happiness. You have distorted your relationship with the object. This is the only thing that will make happy. So that's why, like, attachment when we don't get that thing, it causes us suffering, right? So maybe, like, think of it for like 2 to 3 seconds. What are you most attached to right now? Right now. Coffee. Some may be coffee, some may be the like the comfortableness of the what do we call seat, right? Or like the comfortableness of your house. Maybe I should have been sleeping at my house. The attachment that would have really made me happy, right? So it can be silly, right? It can be sometimes our attachment, when a third person looks at it, it can be really silly thing that you are attached to. So there's no judgment here. Yeah, some of you are maybe addicted or attached to coffee, which, even though we know better, right? But once we get attached to it in a way, then it becomes like our addiction in a way, right? We cannot start the day without a coffee. Even though we know better that if we don't drink coffee I don't know whether you feel that way or not, but any of you feel like if you don't drink coffee for a day, your energy is gone? Okay, so we know better, right? Of course, like, we know that we have this type of attachment to the view that without the coffee, I can't start my day, right? So that's the thing. So exactly here, we have this attachment towards our phone, the coffee, or our relationships. So financial status, power, reputation, right? We have all these attachments. And of course, we have also attachment towards our meditation, right? So we are attached to the view of our meditation practice being good, maybe the posture a little bit straightened. And yes, even the spiritual stuff that we do, like, we become too attached to the view of the perfect spiritual practice that we forget what we are doing. Actually, we are trying to improve ourselves, but we are getting too caught up in this attachment cycle, right? So in the Buddhist psychology, we basically say there are 3 types of attachment, right? So there are 3 types of attachment. So craving for what you don't have. So similarly here, craving for the desirable, right? Attachment that longs for happiness and not wishes to be separated from it. Of course, that. And a thought or a feeling, craving for dissolution, which is a thought or a feeling that says, how I wish I would die, or how I wish I do not exist, or this exists, or that would not happen, right? This in a way is like having the suicidal thoughts, right? In a way, right? So, and craving for continued existence, being attached to one's own aggregates and body and mind. Once we grow old, the fact is that we all have to pass on, right? But we still cling on to that. And there was this, I don't know whether you have watched, but there was one guy who was trying to fight death. So Brian Johnson, I think so. Yeah. So there was this guy, fight death, basically taking vitamins and everything and having your life live a certain way. I I don't know what's they built up a culture, right? The way of not dying or something. So good luck to them. Okay, I should not be saying all this. So here what we have is, of course, this, right? This, in a way, you can look at this in a different way also. It's a craving for the desirable, is craving for what you don't have, right? I want that promotion. Suppose you are going to get a promotion in your work in a few days' time, then you want that promotion. You want that thing. You want that object. You want to be fit, right? Look good in the Instagram photos or Facebook photos or whichever platform that you are on. And one is fear of losing what you have, right? So attachment to the job, that we are too attached to the job that we fear losing that job. And one is what you don't have, one is what you have already. Like, so even though these are same attachment, the object is changing here, right? So, and then the craving for continued existence, as in the third, is like, I wish that I won't die. We have that attachment to the view of the self that we don't die, that then we think of the future and future and future, right? But also we can see these attachments as being attached to the past, present, and the future, right? So we just check for yourself, right? Check for yourself later on that how these three attachments are always in the work, right? Even if you have something, you are terrified of losing it, and when you don't have something, you want that something and plan for that something, right? Future. So we have also that view that whatever we get will bring us real happiness, and when we get that, you feel, okay, this is not happiness. You get, of course, like 1 month, 2 months, you may get happy from it, but then it fades away, right? So we have that view that it won't fade, it won't change. The reality strikes us, right? Strikes us, then it changes. So of course, these are the basic categories of attachment, but in Abhidharma we have more different sets of attachments, like, of course, like from its own entity, there is that big, middling, small, right, attachment. For one attachment, we can like devise it into 9, and how depending on the intensity of the attachment and all this, right? So all this are not necessary, but just as if you want to go into Abhidharma and look more about how it's the categories are, then there is that. So as mentioned in the previous quote, the salty water, right? So that's attachment in a nutshell. When you don't have that promotion, you want that promotion, right? So you drank the salty water. And when you have that promotion, then you want another title or better title, then again one salty water. Then when will this end, right? You feel like but the truth was, previously when you felt that you reached that promotion, you will be happy. But still we are not happy at that time, and you want more, right? So that's attachment. So I hope that you are familiar with what attachment is. Then we go to recognizing the causes, right? What causes the attachment? So attachment, of course, is a feeling that we all have, right? We cannot deny that we don't have. If you don't have attachment, then what do you become? Right? So now we try to find the cause why the attachment arises. So why does it arise in our mind, and why do we do this? So in the Tibetan Buddhist psychology, we basically identify like 3 main conditions that cause attachment to arise, right? So in Abhidharma text itself, the 3 are different. So one is you have not abandoned the, what do you call? You have not abandoned the affliction of attachment. The object is near you, or object is near you for the attachment to arise. Then the third one, you distort, you distort the reality of the object. So these 3, once these 3 are there, then of course attachment will arise, right? So these 3. Of course, we are always near the object, our mobile phones. The root cause of our attachment. Constantly bombardment. Recently, like, I was looking at something like a supplement for Amazon, right? In Amazon, a supplement like a omega-3 fatty. And I was just looking at it. Now, I think just like today morning, the Amazon was giving me a notification saying, last stock left. Last stock left, buy it now. Otherwise it will go away, right? Of course, this is what we feel, right? Basically what they are giving us is FOMO, fear of missing out. Then I feel, or otherwise they will give this type of deal, right? Buy it now. The deal ends in like 1 hour. Right? Of course, these are like, the phone is always there to cause us the fear of feeling out and wanting the one for us to get that thing and inflate it, right? So these 3. So here, the main thing is, firstly, we must recognize the misperception of the object itself, right? We distort the object to a level that even if it's like 50% true, we make it like 1000% true, right? 1000% like this is the one for happiness. So that's one of the main important part of attachment to arise, right? So suppose we see something, a new car, what do we call? Amazing t-shirt or clothes, shoes, a luxury bag, right? Social media profile of somebody. Then we don't see that actually as it is, right? So instead, we project the goodness of the quality of the object. We think this is good, this will make me happy, right? Then, of course, you have already clinged on. You have already been, you have already hooked on the object, right? And you want this. Then sleepless nights, thinking about it, right? So then we also think that the object itself is inherently good, right? We have that feeling of like it's a solid object and it's inherently good. That what we don't understand, it has already distorted our reality, right? The object is just a metal. Suppose it's a car. It's just a metal, right? It's a metal. What's the difference between a car? Maybe what's the best car here? Porsche? Okay. Porsche or a Grab, right? Porsche or a Grab. The main function of the car is what? To get you from one position to another position, right? So, but Porsche, of course, looks good, and they have, of course, faster. But isn't there a limit, like how fast you can drive? So, the main thing here is from one place to another. The function is that, right? but we inflate it. We inflate the, what do we call, qualities of it, right? So our mind sees it as a happiness machine, like happiness, what do we call, a happiness magnet or happiness, that if we get that, it's like we are happy, right? So we exaggerate the the qualities, even if there is something good, like similarly he said fast, right? Then you feel like it will, from point A to point B, it will reach us in 1 minute, right? So that's not possible.
You will help me to attend class.
Attend class. That Grab also will. So we exaggerate, right? So we tell ourselves a story about, yeah, so basically he's telling a story here. We basically tell a story about the object, like how owning it will make me attend the class, or so on, right? We ignore the downsides of owning it. But there, of course, whatever we have like upsides and downsides, right? Here, what I'm saying is, don't not buy Porsche, but don't distort its reality, right? We of course have upside, we of course have downside. We recognize the both. Then it becomes like a guided purchase. Okay, so this itself is called like a misinterpretation of like the object, right? So our precision of the object is literally bent. We focus only on the good, right? And it becomes toxic in a way, right? So that distortment is one of the things that's a cause of arising for attachment. And of course, we have the habit, right? As mentioned here, we have not eliminated afflictions. We have that affliction in us. And we have been practicing this affliction for more than many lifetimes, right? From when you are a baby to when we are adults, we have been constantly bombardment, like, buy this and you will look good. The advertisements are basically that, right? Buy this, and of course you need something to function and you need something to basically go on with life. But the advertisements show us like, hold this and you are like the king of the world or queen of the world, right? So of course we have been doing this, we have this habit of being attached. We have been practicing this, right? So when you have a similar object appear before you, then you are like, you don't even have the time to decide whether you are attached or not. You are basically attached to that object, right? You don't get the choice. Basically, we are habituated in this attachment affliction, right? We have been habituated. So that's why we see shopping addicts, right? I hope nobody is here. Like shopping addicts keep shopping, right? Because it gives them this, like, this new thing will give me happiness, so they buy that. Then again they see new thing. They are so trained in the attachment, right? Then this new thing will, again they see a new thing, this will give, they buy it. Then in a way it's like constant making yourself happy, but using the material things which is not sustainable, right? Maybe you buy a whole sweater godown, right? And put it in a big house, still you are not satisfied. So in a way, attachment brings discontentment, right? So deep down, here we have a fundamental misunderstanding ourselves. We believe that happiness comes from acquiring things, right? From getting more, right? And from achieving more, like promotion and so on. So this belief is so deep that it's really hard to get rid of it, right? we have been advertising. Our mobiles are constantly giving us notifications about the deals that are there, right? It's everywhere. So we have that soil where the attachment can grow. And if in our deepest of our minds, if we really believe that happiness came from letting go, then attachment wouldn't make sense, right, for us. We wouldn't cling to things, we wouldn't cling to certain ideas, have a like strict view, right? Sometimes it's necessary, but we won't have that. So you get the thing, then what happens, right? Then it's okay, you wear that for maybe 1 month, 2 months, your mind adapts to it, you get used to it, right? The pleasure of having that thing fades away. Suppose, I'm sure the mobiles that you had, the first time you had it, the pleasure was immeasurable, right? This is the happiest thing that I can have. But if it has already gone like 20, not 20, let's say like 5 years and all, then you are getting angry at the mobile for lagging right now. So similarly like that. So it gets used to it and the pleasure fades. Again, you want a new thing, right? So then, of course, in work sense, the promotion, you wanted that promotion so bad, you get that promotion for a few years, maybe like in the best case scenario, a few years, then you feel like, oh, this is the best thing I can ever do. Then again comes, now this is suffering, right? I wish I was at a more lower level, I had less responsibility, right? So I think in psychologists, modern psychologists call this like the treadmill, right? Treadmill. You run. There is never a destination. When you are running on a treadmill, there is never a destination that you are going to reach. You are just running, right? Until you get so tired, you are just running. So that's the thing. Now, yes. So, of course, like all the attachment that is there, like shopping for some things, and similarly for our, loved ones, and also like career, right? The attachment that's there. Then we want more, right? It's basically the salty water again and again, right? It doesn't finish, it doesn't end at anywhere, right? Another example, itchy fungus. Anybody of you had ringworm? Okay, so I think it's not common here, right? So in India it is common to have ringworm. So whenever the ringworm comes, if you scratch it and touch somewhere else, it spreads. So here, what attachment is giving you is spreading the ringworm, right? Attachment as a ringworm. So again, like similarly, we have the, like if students, we want to achieve more. Of course, it's good to achieve more, I'm not saying, but we are so attached to that degree or status of the degree that we we get it, then what? Then again, we want a better degree, we want a better job, right? I'm not saying that you should not get a degree. Of course, you should, but not be attached to it. There is a fine line here, right? There's a fine line that we should make. So here, what we come to know is attachment doesn't. What are the causes of attachment? The causes of attachment is we distort the reality, and the object is near, basically advertisement bombarding us, right, continuously. So of course attachment will arise in us, like simple people. So attachment isn't just about buying things, it's the grip, right? It's the grip that we have on that object, and having like perfect outcomes or perfect having, whether it be on your view or so view, like identity, career, or object, right? So now that we have identified identified attachment and identified how it arises, and we know that how it plays out in our life, so how do we control it? How can we lessen it, right? So let's have a classical what do we call antidote to it and a practical antidote to it, right? The classical of course is focusing on the impermanence. One is the focusing on impermanence of the thing, right? You want that as the one of the causes is distorting the reality, right? You think when you are distorting the reality, you are not just thinking that this object will give me happiness, but you think this object is permanent, and all of this distortion comes into place. So one is reflecting on the impermanence. This idea is really simple, right? Everything changes, everything dies, everything gets old, right? So the thing you are attached to, the car, right? The car, your own body, for example, is not permanent. Here I'm painting a real dim picture, right? It's not stable. It's like just a river. It's always flowing. And when you really feel this, right? When you really feel the impermanence of the things, then you would not be attached to your view, and the attachment will loosen its grip, right? Basically, it's the child loosening its grip and taking out his hand. So when you understand that it will turn old and you have to know that it changes, so in a way it's depression, right? Everything grows old. But if you do it right, it's not depressing at all. In a way, it's like freeing, right? It frees you from like the stubbornness of your mind, stubbornness of your own self that's there. So that's of course like one of the classical Buddhist practices that we do, right? For like reducing attachment, but we practice it with compassion, not just without compassion, right? So the second antidote, of course, is shunyata or emptiness, right? Of course, emptiness. When we know that object is inherently just a combination of parts that's there and it's dependent on other things, so it loses its power, right? And another is also like of course, emptiness has two parts. On the object itself, the selflessness of the phenomena, right? Then again we go to the selflessness of the person. Then if you contemplate or meditate on both, attachment will lose its grip, because the attachment, what it does is it's clinging to an I that wants that happiness and thinks that that object will bring you happiness. So when you attack it from the two ways of selflessness of phenomena and selflessness of person, then of course it will lessen, right? So this itself is like revolutionary thinking. So because attachment is always based on the self of solid me, right? There is a solid me needing a solid thing to be secure, right? To be secure, to be free. But if both me or I and the thing are fluid and always changing and doesn't have like is not inherently existence, then the whole cause of the attachment collapses, right? It collapses because here what we are doing is we are not denying reality. We are accepting the reality of the object and the you. Then the base of attachment, which is distortion of reality, collapses, right? So it's a profound practice, but of course it takes time, right? We slowly start to and practice it. And one is, of course, deglamorization, or we focus more on the for a beginner this is really good, right? For a beginner, like, we focus more on the bad qualities. In a way, it's like counterintuitive, right? We focus, if we know that we are getting attached to that thing, we focus on the deglamorizing that thing, right? So that's the thing. So one of my favorites for beginner, right? For a beginner, I'm also a beginner. So one of my favorites is the name it to tame it. So I think somebody is having a problem writing it all down. Name it to tame it. Basically, whenever the attachment arises, recognizing that this is attachment, whenever that thinking arises, right? This is for me a really powerful for a beginner practitioner, right? Of course, then the level up goes like impermanence and shunyata and all this. So for those of us living in this world right now, so the meditation of impermanence and seems like so far-fetched and really hard, right? But what we can do right now is have the mindfulness, right? Simply observing what emotion is arising and recognizing it. Once we are able to do it on a daily basis, then attachment won't have that much of a grip on you. So we don't try to suppress attachment. Here what we are doing is we don't try to suppress attachment. We just observe, oh, hello attachment, you are here. We just greet attachment, right? We just greet attachment. Attachment is there. Oh, now this time, at this point of time, I'm having attachment. When you recognize it, it really loses its power, right? This is for the beginners, but this is also mentioned in, I think, Asanga's part for the, not the Bodhisattva, the lower Savakas, part for the Savakas. There's one book of that. So in that, for the beginners, he's said that it's really good to have this type of non-judgmental, knowing what's coming for to loosen his power, right? Of course, this also takes time. So that's the thing. Then from here what we can see is the attachment promises us happiness and control, right? But it delivers us anxiety and more craving and like feeling of being left out, right? So all this. So what attachment gives arising? So we have recognized attachment in the 3-step framework, right? Identifying it, recognizing the causes, and the third one is how to handle it, right? So basically 3 ways. You can meditate on the impermanence side, you can meditate on the shunyata side, you can meditate on the name it to tame it, or recognizing the emotion without judging it, right? So that's the thing. So that's attachment. We have completed attachment, right? So now here's where it gets interesting, right? Like the social media and comparison with others, getting attached to the view of others being good, the sense that we are good, not good enough. A lot of that is like purely attachment, but there is a secondary affliction that arises from it, right? When somebody does good and you see that, okay, somebody is, I like giving the holiday of Japan an example, right? Let's have another example. Suppose you see somebody has bought what's the latest iPhone 17 Pro, right? Yeah, Pro Max. Yeah. So you saw somebody has bought the latest 17 Pro Max and they have posted in their Instagram account like a story, right? And they are the first one, maybe they are the first ones to do it. Then the comparison comes, right? So that there is a funny feeling that comes. You may feel like good for them, right? But there's another type of feeling that also comes, right? That also may come. I would not say come, but and that affliction is more dangerous, more painful than attachment. And so the affliction itself is jealousy, right? So here, in Tibetan terms itself, we call it thagdog. What thagdog is basically, you are having a narrow mind for that person. Your mind is getting narrowed by what that person has and all this, right? Of course, attachment creates this jealousy. So, but it's a little bit different from attachment, right? Attachment is you just wanting it. So, attachment says, I want that thing. But here, jealousy, what does jealousy say? I cannot bear that person has that. So that's the difference between attachment and jealousy, right? So, but why are you feeling this? Why are you feeling this? It may be because you are attached to that type of goodness that person has achieved, that promotion that person has achieved, the thing that person has bought. You are attached to that thing. Then when that person gets it and you don't get it, what do you feel? Jealousy, right? That person is doing better. So, do you feel the difference between jealousy and attachment? Yes, okay. So, attachment is about grabbing towards something, while jealousy is an intolerance of what somebody else possesses, right? So, the classical definition here is like a mental factor associated with hatred. It is an inner disturbance of the mind out of attachment to gain respect, right? Cannot bear the success, good qualities, or possessions and virtues of others, right? It functions as to cause unhappiness states in your mind, and like more wretched states, like and then you lose sleep. Then you make up stories. I'm sure they steal to buy this, right? I'm sure they are doing some black, what do you call, black money laundering? Yeah, okay, money laundering to do this. I'm sure they cheated somebody to buy this, right? So all this, you make up a story. Again, distortion is happening here, right? So that's the thing. So, yeah. So the terminology as explained is Tagdo, right? I think, yeah. So terminology is that, basically. Tagdo is, the Tibetan is Tagdo, right? Basically narrowing, Tag is in between the space. So jealousy in Tibetan is narrowing and contraction of the mind, right? You are restricting your mind to a certain place. So, of course, there are like many types of jealousy, but you can basically see two types of jealousy. Jealousy towards one that is equal to yourself and one that is higher than you, right? So, that's the thing. So, the feeling that when you have jealousy is that your first reaction is to diminish them, right? Diminish the good that they have done, to make it, twist it, so that other persons also feel like, oh, that's why they are able to buy this. In a way, it's a funny emotion, right? And it triggers something in our really ugly in the mind, like type of a resentment. There is often a wish that person didn't have that thing. The wish that person didn't achieve that thing, right? And maybe sometimes there's also a quiet hope that something bad happens to that person. I know it's harsh, but if you are really know it, there is that slight hope that that person like fails, right? So envy has many faces. So envy towards, as I mentioned before, envy towards those above us, like someone who has more money, more success, more intelligence, more followers in the Instagram, right? And more recognition, more famous than you. Then we feel, why them? I deserve that more than they do. And I haven't got it, but they got it. Then you feel you're basically squeezing yourself, right? So, and then we have the second one, the what do you call, jealousy towards our own equals or peers. So when somebody at our equal level succeeds, we get driven, right? Oh, that person has got promotion. We were enrolled together in the office. Now I want to outdo them, right? So that happens of course. We want to win more than them, right? So that's the thing. So under this type of feeling, there is a deep belief that my worth is like, there is that deep belief that if that person is up, that person is eating my place, right? That person is, what do you call, occupying my space that I should be getting. So that belief itself is, of course, in a way distorting the reality, right? So it's never satisfied. So when you get the promotion that you are looking for, or the thing that that person has had, if you get that, you don't feel better. Then you think, you don't compare yourself to that person. Okay, you have got more promotion than that, but then what happens? You compare yourself to the other person that has got more promotion than you, right? Then it's never ending again. It basically, we go on a samsaric cycle, right? So it happens because we have built a sense of self that is on the impossible foundation that I must always be winning, right? If I'm not winning, somebody else is winning, and somebody else is taking that place. So that foundation is really where it gets exhausting for us. So maybe the modern like thing would be, we see our house, right? We are in our house, we are doing the laundry, we are cleaning dishes, and suddenly somebody posted a story. You get a notification, and you look at the story. They are going for lunches, they are maybe going to holiday in Japan, and you are still stuck here washing the dishes or something, right? Then you really feel the envy, the burning sensation inside. I should be on that holiday. If you have felt this, then it's normal, right? It's in a way normal, but abnormal also, right? So that's envy or jealousy, right? So what are the conditions that arise, causes the envy to be arisen or be generated? It is a misplaced attachment to status and worth, right? Is it there? I think so. So, okay, you type it. Misplaced attachment to status and worth. Like we have an attachment to something being like so good and like being so worthy. So the three ingredients of attachment, right? Basically, desire, grasping, and the self-sense. So envy happens when all of this come together and you attach yourself to that, and somebody else has that, right? your relative status, right? So the causes of the attachment causes envy, right? So when you don't have that, so you believe like the so basically what we can write is misplaced attachment to status and worth, right? Misplaced. So you believe deeply and unconsciously that how I am, my worth, right? My worth depends on how I am compared to others, right? How I am compared to others. I need to be special. I need to be the best. So, attachment of self, right? If someone else is shining, that means my light is less, right? My light is less and my light is not so clear. So that misinterpretation or misplaced attachment itself causes the envy to arise, right? So when you don't get it, they get it, the emotion arises. So that's the thing. So in a way, jealousy is like attachment to a comparative self-image, because your self-image is always relative to others, right? So it's always unstable. So somebody, of course, always will be smarter than you. Somebody, of course, will be richer than you, right? And there is always someone who you can envy. Sometimes we can be envious of Buddha, right? But can we really? So then one is like, of course, like envy is like you don't worth yourself, right? Since your worth is attached to the comparative status, you don't see yourself as worthy, right? So that's the thing. So also the one of the cause is like ignorance. Of course, like all the previous mentioned things are also causes of envy, like you have not been free of that affliction, the objects are near, and then you distort the reality. Of course, these three are always there. So here what we know is like envy thrives or gets cultivated when you believe happiness comes from being the best, right? Having more than others, being recognized, right? Having more, like being better. So because if you believe that, if you have that belief, and then you get envious of others having that thing, right? So that's the thing. We have also that belief that there is a limited resource, right? Limited resource. So if somebody is getting that resource, I'm not getting that resource. So I'm being left out, or like we are basically having a scarcity mindset, right? So that's the thing. Also, like anger also works a little bit, right? Plus, if it's your friend, you get a little bit less envy, right? But if it is your enemy, what will happen? Enemy, somebody you don't like, posts a photo of them buying Porsche, a Bugatti, right? Then you are like, in your mind, everything, anger also, because of angriness and wanting that person to suffer, all this enviness also comes in, right? So that's the thing. So because envy is so like wanting the bad for others in a way, right? It destroys a lot of relationship also, right? It destroys a lot of relationships, right? Because if you are secretly wishing like the others to fail, right? How can we trust each other? Right? Secretly we have that want for you to fail. Then how can we trust each other? Right? So how can authentic trust be there if the other person is always wanting you to fail whenever you do something good? Right? So that's why envy is in a way like what we call disruptor of communities and disruptor of like social harmony, right? So you must never compare yourself to others, but instead compare to yourself. The most best thing you can do is compare you to yourself. For me personally, this is the best thing that I have ever learned going to the Gelug exam, on every exam that's there, right? Comparing yourself, like how much better have I learned in this year than the previous year, right? In this year than the previous year. So if I have learned better, oh good. Then if I learned bad, then I have nobody to blame but myself, right? So it's really good comparing yourself to the previous self of yourself, right? Of course, not getting too attached to it and all this. So otherwise, when we are trying to outrank each and every person in every endeavor that we make, every void that we make, then the trust won't be there, right? So of course, like in Instagram posts, we see somebody posting a story of how they are in a holiday. The holiday is the best example, Japan holiday, right? Like they are in the Japan holiday weekend trip. Everybody is happy. They are posting in like landmark places. Like, what's the Japan landmark? The Fuji Mountain, I think. Yeah, Fuji Mountain, right? Fuji Mountain and everything like that. So, and everybody is liking the post, right? And the friends are commenting, oh, so lucky le, and so lucky le, I'm so jealous. I'm so lucky, I'm so jealous. I wish I was on that trip, right? So when you see that, some of may say, why can't I go like this, right? And you start commenting, like, and you see the likes, like 1,000 likes, right? Oh, now people are really liking it. So that's how it works, right? So here what we are in is a constant state of comparison. So we are not enjoying our own life because we are focused on the others, what others are doing, what others are doing in their life, and we are genuinely not happy for the friends that have gone there, right? If you are genuinely happy, I'm sure you won't comment, I'm jealous, I should have been there. So this is exhausting, right? There's never an end to this. So of course the Facebook algorithm also knows this. Facebook algorithm, or like any type of social media platform algorithm, knows this. So algorithm is your feeder to envy, right? I noticed a funny thing, right? Whenever you scroll on Facebook or something, suppose there is something that makes you envious and you watch that for a certain period of time, it shows more of that to you, right? Suppose you are envy of suppose you like something and that shows more of you. So that's the thing. So here what we are doing is we are itching again, right? Itching the fungal infection. So that's the thing. Also, like in relationship, also envy plays a big role, right? It's like but envy and attachment itself are really funny, right? When you scratch, it's like you feel really satisfied, right? You feel really satisfied. What's the word for that? Shake or shock? Okay. You feel really satisfied, right? When that is there. Plus, if the person fails, then you get more shock. More shock. So that's the thing. So, but it's an exhausting, and it causes you to be overthinking all these mental struggles that we are facing right now because of the causes that are there. and like the misinterpretation of success that is being pounded in our mind by the society or the general consensus, right? So, but what we can do is, this is the beauty of impermanence, right? It's not permanent. We can change it, right? So the classical antidote, we have recognized the causes, we have recognized what envy is. Now we go to the third part, which is the antidote. Of course, in the Buddhist practice, we all do the rejoicing part again and again, right? We have been doing this like after every prayer, we rejoice. But if we just say rejoice, 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 it just becomes like a sentence, right? Just rejoice. But what we are doing here is, when we are rejoicing, we are really, in a way, rejoicing in the combination of good that we have done together. So here it destroys the comparison part, right? Of course, when rejoicing, some of you may feel, I sat better in that puja. I was there to rejoice. But of course, this all should be eliminated, and we should genuinely be rejoicing. So, rejoicing and envy never goes together. These are two opposing mental factors, right? Rejoicing is also a mental factor. So when we rejoice again and again and again, we are basically training the rejoice bicep, right? So it's a really powerful thing, and that's why we do this at the end of every Dharma practice, right? So we think of somebody, and we think of something good happening to them, a promotion, a healing, like them getting good things and everything. So from our heart, we genuinely wish them joy, and we are genuinely happy about it, right? Not like, good for you. Not like that. Not clenching your teeth and like from the side, good for you. Right? Good for them. But it's genuinely like the warm heart, like wanting that, right? So at first, it will be hard. Like your mind will resist it. But yeah, rejoice on her, they are good. But what about me, right? I want that too. Then we again go back to comparison. But the classic here is, you force your mind again and again. The first part is forcing your mind to do it, right? Then genuinely, it becomes what do you call, like a bicep curl, that you have already grown the bicep so much that it can basically, whenever somebody is doing good, you feel happy for them, right? Genuinely feel happy for them. When somebody is driving a Bugatti or a Ferrari, you feel genuinely happy for them, right? So that's the thing. So when you practice this, even for a few minutes, like every day, your mindset shifts, right? Every day, rejoicing. Basically, we are doing it every day, but once it becomes like, we take it for granted, like rejoicing and all. But this, in a way, is a way to practice Buddhism, right? So here we can see the beauty of Buddhist psychology, right? Beauty of Buddhist psychology, and the beauty of the practices that we do at the end, like rejoicing and all this. Also, like, we can think about the same things, shunyata and the impermanence and all this. So that's the thing. So the practical, what we can do is same, name it to tame it. So whenever envy arises, oh, that's envy, now this is not good, and we rejoice, try to generate the rejoice. So for me personally, as a beginner, name it to tame it is the best practice that I have ever found for me, right? Of course, each and every individual is different, so they have their own different, what do we call, practices that they will find more helpful towards them. It's not that one practice is good for everybody. Each and everyone has different mindsets, different upbringing, so there will be a certain type of, what do we call, practice that will be more fitting for them, right? So that's the thing. So of course gratitude, right? We practice gratitude and all this. So that's the thing. And so now what I want you to take away now is the takeaway there. Attitude. Okay. Yep. So the takeaway for today's session is basically this, right? What did I write? I forgot what I wrote. So basically it's like focus on not drinking the salty water, right? Focus on not drinking the salty water or scratching the itch, right? Let's not focus on that. And for attachment and jealousy, we use the 3 framework: identify, recognize the causes, and the antidote, right? And as beginner, distancing also helps, right? Because we are distancing ourselves from if comparing yourself creates a lot of jealousy in social media, you lessen your time on social media. So we know it, but it's hard to act on it. Yeah, we know that food causes, like bad food, oily food causes us sickness, but we still want that oily, tasty food, right? So also one is practice rejoicing, right? Generating rejoicing, and label it to taming it, right? So I think I had a guided meditation, but I think we do that after the meditation if there is time, right? I think we have a short break here now. Since we have already recognized, gone through all the technical terms and what it is and how to practice and everything, since we have already finished this, we'll have a short break, and after that a discussion where I hope that you all open up and share your views. And after that, maybe if possible, maybe a short meditation practice that we did, right? Yeah, that's a short.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.